I want to welcome you to the AdCast. I have a special gentleman and a special guest with me. I know you guys hear me say that a lot, but I'm so excited to talk to this fella. His name is Mr. Sterling McKinley. He is a keynote speaker, an author, an instructor, a digital marketer, and a branding strategist. And he's got a really long resume. I don't think we have enough time to talk about here, but this is the AdCast.
You're listening to the AdCast.
There's three things that I tell people to focus on. That's your budget, your media, and your message.
People gon' call it the truth.
Every day I'm hustling.
If you hustle, you'll never go hungry.
Hustle and motivate. That's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way.
You're listening to the AdCast.
Mr. Sterling McKinley is on the line with us. Sterling, you're out in D.C., the D.C. area, right?
Yes, I am.
I can't tell you. I'm too excited to talk to you right now. I'm all pumped. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can. I can see it as well. So yeah, I do a lot of these podcast interviews every week. I'm always just excited to connect with other marketers and kind of just talk about, the world now and where we're at. There's so many exciting things going on. So I think, the more we have these conversations, it benefits everybody.
Yeah, we're definitely in some interesting times when it comes into marketing. I mean, I think if you had asked both you or I, if things would be the way they are today in marketing in the COVID era, we would have thought someone was crazy if they had asked us that. So there's some different things that we definitely have to do. So I want to dive in first into who is Sterling McKinley. But first, I want to kind of tell everyone that Mr. Sterling and his beautiful wife, they are expecting their first child. So congratulations to you guys. And I look forward to seeing the pictures come up online. So who's Sterling McKinley?
Great question. So I'll give you the short story. So I'm a guy who just always just loved marketing and loved the internet. I go back to my genesis when I'm back in college, back in 2002. Mm-hmm. At that time, there was no digital marketing training, no classes, no courses, but I just had this love for marketing and this love for internet. So, I taught myself, kind of the basis of digital marketing. At that time, there was email, there was websites. I taught myself that way. I combined my training that I found online with what I learned in class. From there, I started my own company, actually, while I was still in college, designing websites for family, friends, churches, nonprofits. From there, I went on to graduate college, and I wanted to go full time to my business, but the money wasn't right yet.
Right.
I had to get a job, and I saw your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
I worked for iHeartRadio. I was a radio executive selling advertising.
Right. Yeah, been there.
And that's a hard job. When you earn commission.
Wow.
I heard your intro. Every day I'm hustling. That's every day.
You know what? When that song came out, I played it every day because it's like, when you were in radio sales and anyone who's at any kind of media sales, the cold call is everything. And back then it was a requirement, man. You had to do it. So I played that song and I would just pump myself up before I go on any call. But when I did it, when I was doing radio sales and TV sales, I made this goal that I had to touch 50 prospects a week, 50 a week. And it was just a numbers game on prospecting, is what it was. But I'm glad you actually know exactly what that's like. So I want to ask you a question, because it just seems like a lot of us who are doing what we do, we fell into running ad agencies and digital marketing agencies by accident, right?
Exactly.
I started out in the restaurant business, really. I used to open restaurants for a national chain, which taught me the most important thing about business, which is people, So how is it that it seems like we all start by accident in this industry?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, going back to my story, in a lot of ways, that job was a blessing because, like you, I was forced to talk to people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, when you have those business conversations, it's about everything. They're talking about the kids, they're talking about, their family, everything else. And a lot of those people at that time were talking about they wanted a website.
Yeah.
They wanted to have those things. So kind of like you, I kept hearing this over and over again. I wanted a website. At that time, social media wasn't around yet, but people wanted a website. They wanted to know about marketing. Yeah, MySpace was right. Exactly. They wanted to know about all these things. So, I was like, wow, I have this passion, this desire. Because of my job, I'm talking to people every day about this stuff. So after 6 months, I left my job. I saved up about $3,000. I bought a laptop. I had a 1-bedroom apartment. I turned my walk-in closet into an office. And that's where I started. So, yeah, it was by accident, but it was by just listening to the demand, listening to people.
Yeah.
So that's really how I got started.
You know what? Why does our stories almost sound just alike? I bought a Craigslist desk for $150.
Right.
And listen to me dating. No one talks about Craigslist anymore. So I bought a desk from Craigslist. I went to Walmart and bought a Toshiba laptop, and that was my company. I pulled my logo from something online I could just, put together. But I think it wasn't really schooling or anything else. It was just you had this passion and desire to be able to do more. And then I had clients the same way, just like you. It was almost like when I was a radio and TV salesperson, my goal was just to sell the holes, sell the inventory. That's it, right? Fill the holes. But then I had more people. They began to buy me just as much, or if not more, than they were buying the station. So it's like, okay, now I need to take this to another level. And it's like, how can I do this where they can really trust me, so they can really trust me. And because the station was like only concerned with inventory. So then for you, it was McKinley Media was born. Tell us about your company, McKinley Media.
Yeah, well, I started originally when I was back in college. In my dorm room, just had to get something started. From there, I grew to have clients, and it started off really good. I always joke that my first 4 months in business, I made over $50,000. At that time, I was 24, first out of college. I mean, you couldn't tell me anything.
Oh, man. I know. I know the feeling.
And then I tell everybody, one day, everything changed. 2008 came and, everything just went downhill. And, I tell everybody, and I was scared to read the email. I was scared to pick up the phone because it was another client saying, hey, Sterling, we like you. You do great work. Wow. You're a nice guy, but we got to pull our contract. And, literally day after day, people just kept calling.
Scared to answer the phone. Scared to answer the phone. Letting the voicemail just go off. Man.
Exactly.
Oh, man. I know all about it. I have an interesting question. You, myself, and I want to get into your book and everything, Binge-Worthy Branding. I'm going to check it out and read it, and I'd love us to be able to stay in touch afterwards. There's not a lot of people like you and I in this industry. Right. And it's almost like we are the minority, meaning, African Americans, we are the minority when it comes, if you're comfortable talking about that.
Definitely.
We are the minority in this industry.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a lot of reasons. I think it's just, myself, I was tall. I was 6 feet tall in 7th grade. So everybody said basketball. Yeah. So for so long, everybody just tell me basketball. And then one day I got, into college, high school, I said, no, there's more to me that, I can pursue business. So, I think a lot of people, they always tell us to go in certain career paths, and we don't, look at technology or digital space. So I think that's one. And then secondly, just the different barriers that are in place, I'm sure you have the same stories. My name's Sterling McKinley. Doesn't sound black per se. So there's been so many times where I go into a room for a conference meeting, or
I'm surprised.
I get on stage and people have to see that look like, oh, that's you? And then you start talking and they start get it. So, and I think too, you think about social media, you think about Mark Zuckerberg, all these young guys in hoodies, but you don't see, guys like us. So I think it comes down to just being seen more, telling people, hey, this is a possibility. And, of all the things out here, I think digital has the most room for growth within our community, because everybody has a laptop. Everybody has a cell phone. It's like, how can you turn that thing into a business?
Absolutely.
So once again, I think just people just have to know what's out there. And, It's funny if you look at the numbers, social media use, TV use, everything. We dominate those categories, but we consume that stuff. We don't create that stuff. So I think a lot of what it has to do with people like myself and you turning the table saying, hey, not only can we consume social media, but we start to create this stuff too. So, that's the side that I'm on now. I'm on the side of creating things, not being a consumer, but being more a creator. So I really think it's just exposure.
I agree with you.
These things.
I think there's also there's a fear as well. I know, we're in Charleston, South Carolina. Here is where we are, and like for our team, we do stuff all across the country. And I had a consultant, and I'm going to shout him out, and you should probably give him a look up. His name's Jason Swank. And one of the things before I started doing a lot of videos and being like the front person, I was so nervous about doing it. And Jason said to me, and I hope my guys will bleep this. He said, if they don't want to do business with you, F them, is what he said. Yep. And then, and when he said that, it was like, okay. And, and I pretty much just did the shoulder shrug and just like, you know what, it's lights out time. But what I did know was, I had to make sure that our company, our team, was the most buttoned up team and company that you would come across. It's like we are on time, we deliver, we have great people in the building, a great team, and we're going to deliver a fantastic product. We're going to do great strategy and execution from beginning to end, from concept to execution. We're going to try and make sure it's flawless, and we're hard on one another because, being able to deliver, that's important to us. And I say that to say this is because, we're having that discussion now, but there are a lot of times where we would go after some business or we would do an appearance and it doesn't seem like we are the fit, or we're not what people are used to. So you have to impress them in some ways. You ever feel that?
Say that one more time.
You ever feel like you have to be you have to impress people. You have to have such a great performance because we're different. We're not different. We're just not what people are used to because we are in such the minority in our field. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I dealt with that for years. I mean, going to my speaking career, I'm always rehearsing my speeches. I'm looking deep into how people interact, receive information. I want to make sure that I'm the best, even though the way I dress. Yeah. I used to get up on stage, looking regular, but I said, no, I need to be the exception. I need to be that person and that guy. So I agree. And I think over time, I'm not trying to impress you when you're over now. Yeah. Because kind of what you said, if you like what you see, then forget you. Yeah. But you would see me on my website, my pictures, my videos, everything. If you don't like this, that's too bad for you. But at this point, I'm not even worried about the competition.
100%.
Whether that person is black or white or whatever. I'm not trying to be the best me. Yeah. And what I have and my gifts are different from your gifts. We don't compete. We can be in the same space, but in different lanes. Absolutely. So I think one thing that I've done for the last few years is really being comfortable with myself, and really creating my own path and my own niche. That's not necessarily better than yours, but it's different than what you do. And I think when you focus really on what you do well, you bring out all the things that make you, nobody's like you, So like me speaking, I've spoken to states across the world and they're not speakers like me, that dress like me, that sound like me, that joke and play and that relate like me. I try this to be different, not competing with you, but really bring out all the things that make me unique. I made a post today on LinkedIn and I was saying that, when I started out in business, everybody told me that I was too nice, that you got to be tough, you got to be mean, everybody.
Yeah, you have to be the bulldog.
Yeah, so I was that for years and, it didn't work. Clients didn't like it, and it didn't feel genuine
because it wasn't you.
Yeah. So now I'm the guy, like you said. I'm buttoned up, and I'm make sure you pay on time, all that stuff. But I have fun with my clients. We talk and we joke and we relate on a deeper level. And all the time that I was trying to be mean, I was ignoring my heart, the side that connects with people. And since I started focusing on that, my career has just taken off.
Wow. You can be there's no one that can be you better than you, right?
Yeah.
And so, man, I want to move on to something different. I love that conversation, man, and a lot more. We can definitely keep in touch and talk offline about it. I want to talk about the Binge-Worthy branding. Let's talk about that book. I mean,
Right.
I'm starting to do a book right now, and I know it takes a lot of focus, and that's hard for a fellow like me. So let's talk about the book. What is the book about? Give us the synopsis of the book.
Well, I think the title says it all: binge-worthy branding. And you think about binge-worthy, you think about binge eating, you think about binge watching Netflix. So I think now in this economy that your brand has to be binge-worthy. You have to create an experience that's so intoxicating, that's so tied to your customers that they come back to you again and again. So in the book, I break down stories of Amazon, Netflix, and Starbucks, how they use AI, how they use data to create experiences that are really intact in line with their customers. And that causes the customers to come back and back again. So really the book is saying, hey, time is up for being a simple boilerplate template company. You have to really, dig into your customers, likes and desires and give them what they want. And when you give people what they want, they'll come back to you. So really, it's just all about a new era. And obviously a new era of really a customer focused business, really being all about your customer. People always ask me, what's next? How can I make more sales? And yeah, there's tactics, but at the end of the day, it comes back to knowing your customer. And I believe now the companies that are growing and are flourishing are the companies that are solely focused, on their customers.
Now, in the beginning, we started talking about you in college and everything else, and you were talking about young Sterling, right? Tell me if Sterling today could go back to Sterling in college or when you graduated or when you began to get this passion, what would Sterling today tell the Sterling of yesteryear?
Yeah. I wouldn't tell him much. I would just tell him just keep the faith and keep pushing because, I can't say that I wish I hadn't done this or that. I'm at a point now in my life, I'm turning 38 in December, is the journey. And I learned so much through that. And if I changed anything, I wouldn't have been this.
Yeah.
So really just have the faith, and this persevere, just know that it all means something. And I think the biggest thing is that nothing is wasted. Everything you do, every call you make, every time you get on stage and speak, right away you might see the return, but you're making a deposit in your future. And at some point, that thing is going to come back to you. So really just have the faith and just be calm. Like I said earlier, just be you, stay in your lane, and just know that if you keep pursuing your passion, that is all that will come back to you.
Well, what I want our audience to do is be calm, just like what you just said. Give that advice and be calm because I'm enjoying this. We're going to take a break and we'll come right back and we'll start diving into a little more discussions on branding and digital advertising. This is the AdCast.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Craft Creative. Change your creative. Change your world with premium video production and graphic design. Get started by visiting WeCraftCreative.com.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.
All right, I want to welcome you back to the AdCast. I'm with my guest, Mr. Sterling McKinley, and we had a nice little conversation in the beginning. It was almost like we were getting to know one another. You were telling me one of the things I was surprised about. You said you wouldn't advise young Sterling. You like the journey, and I think that's a good thing too because you wouldn't be the man who you are right now if you kind of helped him avoid all the pitfalls of life that we had to go through too. So let's get back to some of the branding and advertising discussions, right?
Right.
Do you ever run across, like now it's almost like, you have to believe or you have to have digital and marketing now, but was there a time, or tell me about the time when people just said, hey man, I don't believe in that digital advertising. I want to run my TV ads and I want to stick to that. When's the last time you ran across that, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, I've run across that less and less today, but early on in my career, that's all I heard. And back in 2011, kind of in the last recession, I saw a video of myself yesterday, and I was saying the same thing. Invest in technology, invest in your website, social media, and people didn't do that. And I think about what we are right now. Nobody could have predicted that COVID would have happened, and that it would change everything, and that we would be talking like this every day.
Yeah.
But one thing that we did know is that technology was changing everything. That customers were loving apps and technology, and mobile was big, and store to pickup was big, and 2-hour delivery was big. And I think a lot of companies really got comfortable and said, "Hey, we're going to do the things the way they do them. We've always done them." And you look at now, like there is a huge focus on digital. I mean, where would we be right now if there was no digital?
Oh man!
If there was no digital marketing, there was no apps, no website. So
we'd be in trouble.
I think once again, companies got lazy, complacent. I think about like Blockbuster. The internet was there, they ignored it, and then guess what? Netflix came in and ran away. So I believe we're in a phase now that the companies that were proactive, the companies that were investing in their customers and their future, are the companies that are still doing well. So there's still time for companies, but that thought of, hey, the internet doesn't work and social media and email are waste, those days are gone. And if you have that thought and that mindset, your company is going to fade away.
Do you think they take social media more serious now?
Yes and no. I think people take it more serious, and they take it from the end of the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. People are coming at it like it's all about numbers, it's all about likes and shares. And I think they're missing the part about storytelling, about sharing. And, our social media should be a part of a bigger message and branding. It's just another extension of your digital marketing campaign. So I think people are taking it seriously, but still they're coming at it more from numbers game versus on an engagement game, and more about building and telling a story.
I think people do play the numbers game when it comes to social media, and I hear it all the time. It's like likes and clicks. It doesn't matter if you got 100 clicks or if you got 10 clicks. You need the right clicks, which is the problem, or you need the right likes to something that's going to be to something that's going to progress you forward. So it's not the numbers game, like, oh, how many likes I can get. You need the right ones there. And I think it's like you hit the nail on the head where people are trying to quantify their social presence by how many likes they get or how many followers you have. You need the right ones. And I think the same can be said in social now, and that can help people take it a lot more serious. Now, let's talk about your days as like a PPC manager. Do you think, like we talked about some of the social ends of things and how some of them are now starting to take social serious or their brand serious. As a PPC manager, what were some of the difficulties that you had coming up? Did you find yourself educating clients a lot more?
Yeah, I think a few things. Like I said, going back to a numbers game, people expect. I feel like digital has this expectation that's really unfair. They think that as soon as you digital, we should turn it on for a day. We should have 1,000 impressions and 1 million clicks and everything and 1 million streams. And, I would say, digital is different than other forms of media, but it's still kind of the same. It's a learning and growing process. So as an ad runs, you learn what keywords work, what doesn't. You learn what is the best price to bid on those ads. You learn what copy performs and what it doesn't. So I still think even with digital and even being in pay-per-click, it's still a learning process. And I think people don't really understand that. They expect it to just hit a button and it just happens. But it still takes, growing. It still takes time, and you still have to learn from that. And I would say, too, as I think people are really now are too reliant on boilerplate. People want to buy the perfect email template. They want to know the best time to post online. They want to know the right keyword to buy. They want to just buy off the shelf. But life in digital marketing doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, there are things that we use. These are some of the standards, but you really have to still find out what works for you, for your company, for your brand, your demographic, and then build those things, back into your campaigns. And, my book talks a lot about that. It's kind of saying, hey, it's the end of standard personas. women 18 to 24 do this and this.
Oh my gosh. You remember that in radio? 1834. Wow.
Right. Let's take a really look at our customers, break down really what are they saying, what are they doing, and then let's build ads, let's build products around what they want. Similar to Netflix. Netflix is so special because they have shows like Stranger Things and 13 Reasons, and a lot of these shows, they're not building out of thin air like Hollywood does. They're not guessing.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at your past viewing behavior, and they're taking that data and they're building shows around that. So if they see the people like female leads that are in a city that's done by certain actors, they will try to build a show around that. So really what this book is saying, and I think what your customer is saying, is that we're tired of boilerplate stuff.
Right.
We want things that are
more customized,
in line with what we're saying. So I think as customers, as business owners, we have to do it now. We have to look at the data, and the data should drive our marketing and branding decisions, not just us guessing what will work or just doing the same thing we always do.
No, you make a great segue too. So we have a certain level of clientele that we'll work with, and so when you ask them, a lot of them they would think that you can just have anyone just post to your social media, where
Right.
they don't understand, like, okay, it's not really posting. This is publishing, right? This is your this is your own space in the digital world. And every time we put something up, we're publishing on your behalf is what we're doing. So let's talk about like how it really is a strategy for them to
Right.
put a published post online versus like what you were saying, dovetailing just on what you were saying. This isn't something you can just throw it up and just say, okay, I put things up on my Instagram or my Facebook, and now you have
Right.
this expectation like, oh, I want to grow my audience more.
Right. Yeah, I think it really comes down to really learning your audience and learning what's worked. And like you said, it's not a set and forget it type thing. It's something it takes grooming and finding out what content really resonates with your user. And I think too, one part of social media is that everybody is trying to be the same in a sense. And I think that's being lost. Like, it's okay to be unique. And if we're serious about it, I don't want 1 million followers if they are all high school students.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 500 followers that are decision makers, that are meeting plans in my industry.
Right.
Because they need so much more than that 100,000. So I think it really comes down to that, not being everybody. And I think a big aspect of social media is storytelling. So I think a brand first has to tap into what is their story. What makes you unique? What makes you different in your industry? And you have to marry that with your customers and bring that story out.
Mm-hmm.
So myself, social media, I talk about my story as an entrepreneur. I talk about public speaking. I talk about branding and marketing. Those are my lanes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get everybody.
Absolutely.
I read a quote a few weeks ago, and it said, in order to expand your reach, narrow your focus. So a problem that people have social media, they have digital marketing, if they're trying to get everybody. You want everybody to come. And you can't do that. You have to focus down on who you want. You have to have a smaller focus, because once again, like I said, when you're everybody, you're talking to nobody. But when you're having those individual conversations with your customers, that's when it happens. So I really say just stop just trying to be like everybody. Stop chasing fans. Stop chasing followers. Really learn your story. Really learn, what makes you unique, and find ways to bring that out.
I agree with you, man. I live by this, something that I heard from a guy by the name of Jim Doyle. He said, when you try and be all things to all people, you wind up being nothing to no one. And
Right.
and I love that, and I live by that. And it's like, really, like, not everyone is good for you. Not every audience is the audience you need, right? So I definitely agree with you 100%. Has there ever been a time where you did a campaign or you started a campaign, Sterling, and you failed? And when you did fail, how did you learn from it, and how did you move forward?
Yeah, always just learning experiences, especially early on in my career. So I remember I had my one of my first pay-per-click campaigns I was managing, and the budget was probably about $30,000 a month. And at that time, as a young pay-per-click manager, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn AdWords properly. I had some of the wrong settings in place, and I came back one day and we ran through thousands of dollars in one day.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that was supposed to stretch across 30 days. So, I had to look at the data. I had to scale it back. I had to put limits on, hey, we're only going to spend X amount per day. We're not going to run 24 hours. We're going to run from this time to this time. And, I look at my geography. We shouldn't be trying to reach everybody in the state. Let's choose certain cities and pockets that make sense for us. So I think one of the mistakes that people are making in digital marketing is just getting started.
Yes.
Just saying, hey, I should get on Facebook. And they get a business manager account and they start clicking demographics and putting in stuff and targeting. I think people need to step back first, sit down, do that planning, do that research first. So then when you come to the platform, you already know what you want to do.
Exactly.
You're not, guessing about who you should target, what you should say. So in advance, I think your copy and the research of your audience should be done in advance. It shouldn't be in platform when you're doing that. So I think for me, just research advance about who is my true demographic, who am I really targeting, instead of trying to get in the platform and kind of plan as you go.
We've adopted two things, and here's what I tell our team. The client pays us for two things. They pay us for strategy and they pay us for execution, right? And a lot of what you just said goes into the strategy part of things, where you do that homework, you do the prep work before you even launch a campaign. And then once you launch and you're managing, now you're in the execution end of things, right? That's what they pay us for. And do you believe that some agencies, that they make it hard? And what I mean by that, by them making it hard, do some agencies make it hard because they don't showcase the work that goes into it, or tell a client up front, like, this isn't going to be all rainbows and unicorns. We're going to have to work for this.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important, going back to client management and onboarding. And, I learned from working with myself and with companies that onboarding phase is very important. That's where you set expectations. That's where you tell them, hey, this may happen. If it does, this is what we're going to do. So I think it's very important to have those real conversations up front. And what you don't want is a client to come back after that first, KPI meeting and say, hey, I thought we were going to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And you're saying, no, that's not how it works. The client feels duped then. So I think being honest and being transparent up front is really important with your clients, and letting them know, what's going to happen. And once again, it's a learning process.
Yeah,
we're doing research, we're doing things, but sometimes you don't know until you hit start, and then you can kind of manage it as you go. So I think really just setting expectations is really, really important. That's always best for clients. Just let them know what's going to happen, up front. And I would say too, just being in constant communication.
Absolutely.
Letting them know constantly what's going on, and hey, we're not going to change this click-through rate, or we're not going to change this bid every day. No, we're going to sit back and watch things happen and watch things for themselves. But yeah, just setting expectations, I think, are really huge. I mean, you don't want to sell fool's gold. And, I think about digital and I think about radio, and they're very similar.
Yeah.
So by the time I got into radio has been around for years. And I found that a lot of customers have built up this resistance to radio. So as soon as you come on the phone, hey, it's Sterling McKinley from whatever, XYZ 600, click, hang up.
Wow.
Right away. They don't want to talk to you. Why? Because there was somebody that sold them a package.
Instead of a plan.
6A, from 6A to 9A, they had all these demographics. They had all the stats about how far the cinema reaches and about how many people listen to our radio station.
Yeah.
Boilerplate demographics. So them, hey, pay this money, run your ad in the morning, the afternoon, and XYZ is going to happen. And then guess what? It didn't happen.
Yep.
And it happens again and again, and customers build up a tolerance to that. And I feel some way that happens in digital, because digital is this new thing. It's not really tangible. It's kind of just on our computers, on our phones.
They don't understand it. Clients don't understand it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Nobody really understands it.
Yep.
And my people sell these numbers that really aren't backed up. And like I said earlier, I think that digital has some of the same standards and some of the same practice that you have in traditional media. Don't say, hey, you're going to be like whatever brand on social media and have 1 million clicks the first day, or if you're doing e-commerce. Yeah, you see the stories about companies making, 100,000 on their launch, but it's not always true. You might have to grow and learn. So I think really setting those standards. I think something happening now that people only take like the most outrageous digital media stories and expect them to be like that. So they hear about the guy who has 3 million followers. They hear about the guy who has, 20,000 views on YouTube per video. And they expect that to be theirs. And they're shooting for that. And going back to what I said earlier, that's not really the goal. Mm-hmm. So I think, once again, just setting client expectations, making sure they understand how things work, and knowing that, hey, just because you pay us this money to put these ads on, is not going to happen just like that. And if it does, that's great. We'll take credit for it, but it always doesn't happen in that way.
Man, Sterling, you and I, man, we need to talk a lot more offline about a lot of these things. I think we face some of the same issues. What we're going to do is we're going to take our final break, and we're going to come back with something that we call the lightning round. Wow, that's new. That's new. So in the lightning round, when we come back, we're going to discuss those different mediums. We're going to talk about radio and TV, newspaper, and I'd like to get you to give me some concise answers, like how you feel about each of those mediums. Is that cool?
Okay.
All right.
Great.
We're going to go to
Sounds
break
good.
and come back with the lightning round. This is the AdCast.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Craft Creative. Change your creative. Change your world with premium video production and graphic design. Get started by visiting wecraftcreative.com. You're listening to the AdCast, the podcast for marketers and advertisers with your host, Eric Elliott.
I want to welcome everyone back. I have had an incredible time talking to Mr. Sterling McKinley. A lot of great things going on in this young gentleman's life. Welcoming his first child, running a successful firm. He's out in the D.C. area, and we'll definitely put some cliff notes when we post this online. But now, I want us to talk about the different mediums. This is our lightning round, and I'm going to ask you. That's new. All that sound effects is new. I like it. So I'm going to ask you about different mediums. And I think the first one, let's go into one that you and I are very familiar with. Give me your thoughts on radio.
Yeah, I think video still has its place. I don't feel like it's a dead medium. But once again, it has a place in a larger branding and marketing conversation. I remember in my days of radio, we would sell it as, hey, this is the latest, greatest, that somebody will call your phone as soon as they hear this ad.
Wow.
And that's not how it works. So
That's right. Yeah.
I view radio more as a branding thing. It's something that you're hearing in the background that's going along what you see online, what you see on TV, and eventually, that kind of plays a part in helping you lead up to making that sale or making that purchase.
How about television?
Television. Yeah, television is very powerful. I think television in some ways has spoiled marketers in the past because it's pretty simple. You bought ads on TV, you ran some commercials or program, you have some nice production, and it really sold. But I feel like TV now is kind of changing. We think about cord cutting, we think about streaming TV. It's kind of changing now. And, one thing I have about, I guess TV, I'll say that first. TV still works. Once again, TV can be very expensive and costly to produce, commercials and so on, and have them air and run. So once again, TV has its place, but I believe TV should be a part of an overall marketing campaign. It shouldn't be the end all be all. I know lawyers love TV, love doing that, and that's great.
Yeah.
But once again, TV, I feel like should lead to something. It should be a part, of a bigger conversation. And as far as streaming TV, I think it has a lot of promise now. I think in the early days of streaming TV, it'll be a commercial and it'll be the same 4 blocks of commercials for every single commercial break.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's kind of changing some. It's getting a little better. But once again, TV is changing, and, TV radio and some of these technologies, mediums, are what we call, push mediums. They tell you when they're on. We're on at 6, we're on at 7. They hear the show, tune in 7 in the morning. And in a sense, that's kind of old mediums. Now we're kind of in this pull stage. And pull mediums are stuff like social media, the internet. There are no set schedules that your user is now making up their own schedule. You think about streaming TV. Now the person chooses when they view that program, when they view that. So once again, I think TV is going through a transition on this new phase of TV where it's more heavily going to rely on streaming programming.
Yes, right. Prime time is now your time. It's not their time anymore. So now, how about newspaper? How do you feel about newspaper?
Newspaper, yeah.
Be nice.
I think newspapers still have a place.
Yeah.
Once again, it's tough now because, news on internet is free. It's instant. I mean, the time you print something is out of date. The story has changed. So once again, I think papers still connect with a certain demographic. Sometimes the reporting you see in newspapers is sometimes better than what you're getting on TV.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, TV and other sources. So I feel like it still has its place, but, it's being condensed. And, I think it's about the consumer. The consumer is saying right now, you know what, we're valuing the paper a little less. So you're seeing the paper industry shrink for a reason. Will it ever go away totally? I don't think so. I mean, there's nothing like holding something in your hand, whether it's a book or a paper. But once again, I think papers are still trying to adapt to the internet. A lot of papers now have these paywalls. So you see a link on social media, you click it, you go to the site, and it says, great. Now pay us $3 to read this ad.
Wow.
Read the story. Personally, I hate it. So I don't know how they're going to figure out how to make it work. But yeah, paper's in a funny place now. It still has its place, but it's definitely not what it used to be.
How about outdoor advertising, billboards?
Yeah, billboards. Once again, billboards are branding. Once again, me seeing a message over and over again. I think about Geico. When I think about branding, I think about Geico. They're putting out short 15-second commercials. They're putting up billboards. They're just constantly having their name in your head. So, that's how I approach billboards. But once again, I'm not going to stop and write down that number on the billboard.
Right.
If the website is catchy, the name is catchy, I may remember that. But once again, hopefully that billboard is in place with a TV ad or a radio ad or online ad as well. So once again, I think outdoor ads is place. But once again, it has to be part of a bigger campaign. And if you think about billboard, it's great, but it's standing right there all day, staring at the same people. It can't move. It can't shift. Mm-hmm. I know some now they have digital boards that kind of change placements.
Yeah.
But those are not everywhere yet. So once again, it has its place. But once again, I feel it's more for branding medium more than like something like the internet is.
How about social media and social media advertising?
Yeah, I think that now is a great place for expansion. I tell all my customers, clients, the cost now is phenomenal. I mean, what is the cost now of a primetime ad, drive time in the morning for a radio station?
You figure $100, $100.
Yeah.
And you reach less than 25 to 30, less than 30,000 people.
Right.
Yep.
And sometimes it's more than that. I work for a country station as well. And in the morning, a spot for 30 seconds could be $300-$400. It was crazy.
Depending on where you are, what market you're in. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And, social media allows us to target exactly who you want. So one, the costs are lower. And then secondly, we can target exactly who we want. And we can target somebody where they're already spending time doing that.
Mm-hmm.
People, yes, are in their cars still, but you're kind of distracted, you're driving. But, social media advertising allows you to hit somebody right where they're at. So I think the cost benefit is phenomenal. I mean, if you want to write an ad, you can be paying 15 cents a click, 10 cents a click.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that stuff.
Right.
And then once again, the targeting. And not even that unlike TV, unlike radio, the paper, social media is direct response. I can hit that link on Instagram and I can sign up to your newsletter. You can sell me. I can sign up now. I can go to Amazon. I can buy that product, So it's obviously a little different. It's more of a direct response medium. But yeah, I don't feel enough companies are taking advantage of social media advertising because at least right now, it's a great time to be in, and the prices that you're going to pay are phenomenal.
I agree. Now, our final, how about Google Ads?
Google Ads. Yeah. Google Ads, I mean, they work. People always say, oh, do they work? Well, that's how Google makes a lot of their money, do AdWords. So they work. Once again, I would say, if anybody, be careful because, it can get very expensive. If you're a lawyer, $90, $100 a click, depending where you're at, it can be that. So I think on Google, you want to be very focused on what you do. I always say, if I'm going to a site for hamburgers, if I see an ad for hamburgers, I don't want to come to a site for hot dogs. So making sure that your landing page, your call to action is very strong. And once again, I mean, right now, people love real estate, but the most valuable real estate now is being on Google. So depending on what your industry is, what you're selling, that number one spot means a lot. So, it is something to look into for your brand. But I say, once again, if you're a lawyer, don't bid on the keyword lawyer. You got to get everything. You got to pay a lot for that keyword. You got to get people that are just browsing. But be targeted in what you want. Once again, everybody's trying to go wide, but you need to go narrow. And I think, advertising on Google can be very beneficial. When you go narrow, you have a good target and you have a good landing page that's going to convert to a sell or to a phone call.
Yeah, and you don't need the huge spend if you're going narrow. You can actually really focus your dollars. Mr. Sterling McKinley, this has been a great episode, and I've enjoyed talking to you so much and having this good conversation. And I hope we do stay in touch. And I'd like you to kind of just tell our audience about your book. Tell them about finding you on the book and how they could find you.
Right. Once again, the book is called Binge-Worthy Branding. And the book's all about your customers. It's about how you can use analytics, you can use data, AI to really find out what your customer wants. And now you can stop guessing. You can build products, services, ads around what your customer wants. And I believe, once again, once you know what they want, you're not selling, you're recommending. And people feel like they've discovered something that matches their needs and their wants. So, once again, we're in a new era. The days of this boilerplate stuff, billboards that don't change, just having the first name and last name and email is not personal anymore. It's spammy right now. So we have to go deeper to get a true understanding of what customers are. We have to build that one-on-one relationship. Once again, to find me, the book's available on Amazon. If you just go in and type in Binge-Worthy Brand, you can find the book. Myself, I'm on a lot of platforms. If you go to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, type in Sterling McKinley, you see my page. And once again, if you follow me, send me a question, I'll get back to you.
Awesome. It has definitely been great. For those who are listening, we want to thank you so much for giving us your most valuable asset, which is the time that you have. And if you feel this podcast has been a great use for you and great information, please like it, share it, and tell your friends about it. I want to thank our guest again, Mr. Sterling McKinley. And Sterling, congratulations to you and your lovely wife on the addition to your family. This has been the AdCast. Thank you.
Copyright VIP Marketing and Advertising, produced by Craft Creative. For premium video production and graphic design, visit WeCraftCreative.com.